Good afternoon. Welcome to week 5 of SLI, SATCO Leadership Institute training for current and future leaders. This is brought to you by the Harold Training Group and the Harold Weaver Institute for Higher Learning and Management Training. So welcome to week 5. The agenda today is we're going to review and discuss the homework. We're going to also review the principles, characteristics, and habits of leaders and managers. And we're going to talk about some principles and characteristics in a little more detail. The theme of the week today is we're going to dive a little deeper. We're diving a little deeper into the leadership management pool and see what's down there at the bottom of the pool a little closer. Then we're going to summarize it, assign some homework, and off we go. So here was your homework assignment. Look for and record other examples of leadership principles, characteristics, habits, being modeled in your work environment, and other aspects of your lives. Be prepared to share. What would you like to share with us, Callie?
Okay, I did this wrong, but I actually...
You want to jump to somebody else?
Yeah, can we have them come back to me?
Steve, were you able to do this?
I use on this one. I use myself as an example.
Okay, tell us about that.
Put in my own name.
All right.
But for instance, I seen that my neighbor's computer crashed at the end of the day about 2 days ago, and me, without thinking about myself, I just went unavailable and automatically, not looking for anything in return.
Okay. All right. What principle is that?
It was just a habit. I was helping others.
Okay.
I was using what you call it. Talked about last week.
Okay. All right. Excellent. How about you, sir?
Yeah, so I was running around frantic, one day, and somebody asked me, they stopped me and tried to ask me about the new Hughes program going on. And we had taken Callie and Blake and Anna to the Hughes Roadshow in San Antonio. And this was actually from Blake, right? So I guess he kind of saw that I was real busy, and same thing, went unavailable, and went and sat down with another agent, started talking all about, the new program, the prices. He was writing stuff down for him, role playing. I mean, I'd never really seen that from Blake, so that was, really cool for him to just stop, help out, and see something was going on, right? See that I was in another area right then, and just jump in and take care of it. So I didn't have to worry about it.
That's great, and that's unselfishness, right? That's selflessness. Yeah. Jerry and I believe that Blake someday will be a millionaire.
Yep.
We absolutely believe that. How about you, sir?
The best example that I see, I usher at my church, and it's my parish priest. He's a really good guy, Irish, like straight from Ireland, right? And really, really good guy. And he'll take the topic, whatever isn't going on in the world is typically, whatever's in the news, typically negative, right? And he'll just kind of just touch base on it, but I'm not saying put a positive twist on it, but kind of inspire you to move past that and look at the bigger picture of life, and to keep your morals and just be a very positive person. Because in the end, I truly believe in the law of attraction, and I believe that's probably what he's talking about too. So if you put a bunch of negativity out in the cosmos, you're probably gonna get that back.
Mm-hmm.
And I go to church every week. I always come out feeling very positive and inspired by what they say. And they're really true leaders because they have a large congregation, and they go simply to see him and hear what he has to say. It's really inspiring.
Okay, so he's demonstrating some leadership characteristics, traits, communicating with people that look up to him, right? That's one of the principles. How about you, sir? Did you do your homework?
Yes, sir.
All right.
I'm going to go back to what we touched on a little bit, how you and Doug were dealing with a problem agent that wasn't cutting the mustard. Y'all laid out what was expected of them, and y'all followed up with her, didn't meet the task at hand, and y'all had to make a hard decision to let that person go. And I guess that's the characteristics of like courage. It takes courage to be able to look somebody in the face and, you know, even though you may have mixed feelings about it, do what's right for the company. And bearing, of course, you're showing exactly how it should be done, and you're not just saying it, you're doing it. You know?
One of the absolutely most difficult tasks you will ever be tasked with doing is letting somebody go. It's the hardest thing in the world. I've been let go. It wasn't pleasant at all. And I know what it feels like on the other side of that. So you really have to work at that, and that has to become sort of a skill set for you. And we'll actually talk about that in this course in terms of how you do that, how you do it properly. Just fundamentally, you should never surprise anybody with a firing. It should not be a surprise to them. If they're surprised that they're being let go from the company, you haven't done something right. And that's really sort of. So thank you very much. How about you, Trey? Huh?
I don't have anything.
Callie, you ready at this
Yes,
point?
I am ready. I would say, I guess here at work, I would say Jason, he'll stop in the middle of a call if I have a question and help me with my problem, go finish the sale, and I see him do that with everybody around here. So I think that's a pretty good example of being a leader and just making it happen. If he sees somebody with a problem, he'll go over and help them out. And
One of the 7 habits, right? First of the 7 habits, be proactive, right? That see something needs to get done. As a leader, you go do that. That's what you do. Simon?
Actually, I was going to mention Jason also.
Wow.
That
Are you paying him? What's the deal?
He gets frustrated easily, but he's willing to go around and help agents if he's not on the call. He'll help me out because he knows more about internet products than I unfortunately say I do. But so I'll go to him and I'll ask him a question and he'll be willing to help out.
Okay, so he's leading by example.
Yeah, and also I was going to say something we talked about the other day, servant leadership.
Servant leadership.
And, Jerry's a very good example of a servant leadership.
Jerry is excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. That's excellent. And something else that Jason demonstrated was his knowledge, right? And knowledge is power, right? The more you know, the more powerful you are, right? Did I tell you about the dam expert from China? Did I tell you that story?
Yeah, that's a good story.
Yeah. Did I tell that story here in the leadership class, or is it all right? Well, it seems that in China they built this dam, and they reverse engineered it from American dam, and they got all the equipment in, and they tried to get that thing to start, and they couldn't get it to start, and they spent literally hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars, trying to get this doggone thing to start. They sent every expert in China into this dam to get it start. And finally, they looked into the world to see if there was an expert at it. There happens to be one guy that's an expert at starting dams that won't start. So they looked into that, and they discovered that he needed $10 million to be in his bank in Switzerland before he gets on the plane to come to China to look at the problem. And if he gets the problem fixed, he gets another $10 million. So the Chinese are going, huh? We can fix this. We got 11 billion people. We can fix this. Finally, they had to call the guy. So he comes in, and the premier's there, and everybody in China's there. He's got this little black case that's about this big. He walks into the control room. He looks around, finds a little spot on the wall. He opens that black bag, takes a big old hammer out, goes bang as hard as he can, and the whole place shakes and vibrates, and the dam comes on, and the machinery's working. The Chinese are going crazy. If we'd have known, the only thing you have to do is slam the wall with the hammer, we'd have done that like a long time ago. He said, it's not slamming it's knowing where to slam the hammer, right? So it's knowledge is power, right? It's power. You got an example of leadership you want to talk about?
Not off the top of my head. I apologize right now.
It's all right. It's the first time in class. All right. Write one paragraph on how you plan to spend more time in Quadrant 2. Did everybody do that?
I didn't do it because I got the wrong homework, but I think you and I have talked about this a couple of times. That was the first thing. I was looking for the example of where I was drawing at the first day of LSI, and I couldn't remember exactly where the urgent and the unimportant went. But that was the first thing I'd ever learned in a sales course, and that is what I've always tried to model my work on, is trying to stay there, because I'm so easily distracted, and staying in quadrant 2, like, that's my sort of mission statement. I work on that every day, so I thought that's awesome.
Okay, we're going to talk about that a little more here in just a little while. Okay, anybody else? Anybody else do that?
I definitely would have did that.
We talked about that, didn't we?
I'm sure we did, bro. I'm sure we did.
I gave an absolutely fantastic class on the 4 quadrants, right?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. I thought I did. I thought maybe I was imagining that. Go ahead, Steve.
All right, so my name is Stephen Gaddis, and I wrote this paragraph explaining how I plan on spending more time in quadrant 2. First of all, I plan on doing a lot more pre-planning to help me balance my day out a lot more and keep it organized. And then,
Excellent.
I'm going to focus more on my health because I'm from the country, so I eat a lot of pork, and I need to be healthy.
Yeah, right. Right.
You know, I need to be more.
I too, sir, am a pork fancier. Yeah.
To be a battle leader, and also I'm going to continue to read a variety of different books to
All right.
understand how other leaders became so good and popular.
Okay.
So in conclusion, I'm going to plan more, watch my health, and continue to read more books. Stay in quadrant 2 a lot.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Who else wrote that?
I did.
Go ahead.
In order to spend more time in quadrant 2, I'm going to avoid busy work. I'm also going to prioritize based on what's really important. And I'm going to pass as many of my monkeys off to people who I can suck or to take them in. It's not a little Parksicut joke. I wouldn't really do that, but I would like to.
We talk about leadership mistake that one of the 31 mistakes, most common mistakes that managers make is taking somebody else's monkey. And we talk in depth about that. A monkey is basically your essential duties and responsibilities. And people are real willing to give theirs to you if you'll take them, right? And so you have to avoid that as much as you possibly can. So excellent. Who else wrote the quadrant 2 thing? Just that, right? Does that make sense? Okay. All right, quadrant 2. For you guys, who wasn't here last week that missed that? All right. Okay. All right. Basically, I'm just going to do just a real quick. Let me find that real quick. There we go. Okay. Time matrix and activities, right? These 4 boxes represent your business day, right? Those 4 boxes represent your business day. And we make them into 4 quadrants. And we call those quadrants 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. This section up here are important tasks and duties that you do. This section down below are unimportant or not important tasks. This is the urgent stuff we do. And this is the not urgent. Okay. Now, I can't take the time to go into a full class here, but essentially, quadrant 1 is all of our have-to-dos during the day. It's our deadlines. It's we're driving sales, making sales, taking those calls, getting to work, taking everything we can to get ourselves through the day. We handle all that stuff, right? So it's your pressing matters, your crises, your panics, your firefighting, right? All the managers, have you ever fought a fire? Raise your hand. Absolutely, right? Deadline-driven projects, right? And we don't operate on that. It operates on us, right? It drives us. We don't drive it. So it's something you have to do, right? So all those things are in segment one. And it's important. I mean, when I say it's important, it is. And these are the things we have to do. We have to drive sales. We have to take calls. We have to manage. We have to make sure we have butts in the seats. If the system goes down, Simon has to go run screaming downstairs and get Marcus. If he can't get the printer to work, all those kind of things, right? All those crazy things, right? Over in 2 is we have what we call prevention, right? And that's when, like Steve said, I'm going to take the time to plan and put processes into place and be a strategic planner so that I don't have to spend so much time over here firefighting in crises, right? And this is planning and preparation, getting ready, right? Now, you guys don't see it, but get ready for this class takes a lot of preparation, does it not? I mean, we have to do the slideshow, we have to do the handouts, we've got the camera, we've got the recording, all those things take preparation, right? And over here you have implementing systems and your professional knowledge. And, like Steve said, health, right? You have nutrition over there and physical fitness and emotional health. All of those are important aspects of what we do. And what we find is the more time we spend in this quadrant, the more control we have over this one. So if you want to be more productive, you have to be a better preventer, a better planner, better preparer, somebody who installs systems that helps prevent fires from happening. You have professional knowledge. You have good health. You're eating right. You're not drinking so much. You're focusing on your emotional health, your spiritual health. All those are important aspects that help us become more productive over here. On 3, you have things like interruptions. Some calls in mail, some reports and meetings, unprepared meetings, and popular activities, you know, Facebook, right? Then over here, number 4, we have trivia, busy work, time wasters, unproductive activity, and everything else, including the G word, gossip. And gossip is not productive, right? It destroys relationships. Leaders shouldn't participate in it. If someone starts to gossip around you, the first thing you need to say as a leader is, have you taken that to Jerry? Have you taken that to Brew? Have you taken that to Travis? Have you taken that to Victor? Have you taken that to Marco, right? You don't want to participate in gossip, right? So what you do is you look for time wasters, interruptions, those kind of things, and gossiping and not being productive, and you eliminate that from your professional life. And what does that do? That gives you more time up here in quadrant 2 for you to be able to control. Quadrant 1 is where you're making your money and all that stuff, right? Does that make sense? So in a short way, Jason, that's what we're talking about. This is 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. This is First Things First. It's a fantastic book for those of you who are reading the 7 Habits. It is one of the habits, and there's another book right after that he wrote called First Things First, where he really dives deeply into the subject matter and really helps you understand the difference between urgent things and important things. Like Doug said, I'm going to look at the important things and prioritize those and avoid the interruptions, firefighting, and those kind of things. Does that make sense? Okay. All right. Okay. Personal vision statement. We talked about that last week. Has anybody had the time to rewrite their personal vision statement?
My vision is to create a better everyday life for the many people I deal with on a daily basis. I make this possible by offering a wide range of home entertainment options for an everyday person. I'm a hard worker, loyal, I'm a great father, dedicated to do whatever it takes to be a better person, and I strive to learn something new every day.
Fantastic. Did you rewrite yours?
Yeah, mine's real short though, because it only really comes down to one thing. I said, I'll always be positive when times are negative, when everybody else is not. The sheer fact that as a leader, you have to be positive at all given times. And
It's not as easy as it seems.
it's not, but you know what? It takes a lot of strength. And
Discipline.
but
Discipline.
It takes a lot out of you
Yeah.
to be negative.
Oh, it
It's
does.
exhausting.
It does.
And
It does. Negative energy will
let go,
eat you up.
it'll help you put things in perspective. And as long as you keep positive, it'll hopefully transcend to everybody else. It's the bottom line for me at this point.
Excellent. Did you get a chance to rewrite your?
I didn't even know that I was in the classroom.
Okay. How about you? Did you get a chance?
But I didn't transfer it to my new group.
Don't worry about it. Jason, why don't you share yours, brother?
This is something that Denise Dunn had us do a couple years ago. If anybody was here around, she made us write up like a wake-up thought and a mission statement for yourself every day. So this is what I came up with. She asked the whole entire sales, like everybody, to do it, and maybe like 5 or 6 people did it. So yeah, but mine's kind of funny in some places. So here we go. It's my wake-up thought. It says today's a brand new day. It's full of potential and adventure. Seize the day, make it happen. You're a rock star. About me, I'm highly intelligent. I can adapt to pretty much any situation. I am a very good salesman. I've proven it over the years in any sales job that I've had. I'm constantly pushing my limits to expand my mind and the capabilities of my mind. I'm good looking. Believe it or not, it's got me quite far in my life in certain situations. Highly motivated and motivational to the people around me. I'm charismatic, enthusiastic with everything I put my mind to. Always try to have a smile on my face. It's not always easy, but at least I try. I'm a natural born leader. I wrote my goals after that, and I'm still working on those goals. So
Okay, that's excellent, and that's a sort of a combination affirmation statement, which I think is really important. We teach in school, in class, and it's also a personal mission statement. What my encouragement to you, and you'll see as a homework assignment today, is to rewrite your personal mission statement, is to rewrite it in a way that really is your vision for yourself and your mission for yourself, right? Who am I in this whole complex world? What do I do? What do I bring to the table? What am I striving to bring to the table? If you know what I mean, if that makes sense. Okay? This is mine. That's me. I wrote that, and I try to do that every day. Okay, leadership. Talk to us about leadership real quick.
Leadership is the ability to lead, the ability to guide, direct, or influence people.
All right, and I'm going to be asking you guys this question today. Since you have been involved with this in a sort of organized way, how has your thinking about leadership and management changed? Think about that, because we're going to talk about that today. Leadership principles.
Know yourself and seek improvement.
And that's important because?
Well, I mean, you always got to learn got to learn what's going on, got to know what's going on. And to be a better leader, you've got to be able to make yourself a better person.
Right. Leadership comes from where? Within you.
Actually,
right?
this is the book I'm reading right now.
It's within you. It comes from the inside out. It's not external. Just because you look like a leader doesn't make you a leader, right? Does that make sense? All right. Know your business, your product, your service, your process. Why is that important, Steve?
Because if you're a leader and you don't know your products or your services, how can you help anybody else?
Yeah, you can't lead by example, can you? How about you? Know your employees' strengths and weaknesses and make their success your priority. How does that impact people?
Well, you have to know, you don't want to, somebody who's really good at selling but not good at teaching, you don't want to have them in front of the class teaching. Somebody who can teach how to do one thing and not do it. Dad always said, do as I say, not as I do.
Yeah. Yeah. Unfortunately, as a leader, sometimes it has to be do as I do. You know.
Put people in the right places.
You do.
Can't set them up for failure.
You do, and you need to know when you're about to overload somebody. We had a situation in class this week where I stuck my thumb in a bullet hole with one of the folks, that I didn't know was there. It was an emotional scar. We were working on something, and we got an emotional reaction that neither Jerry or I expected. So we talked about that afterwards, and we realized that there was probably some sort of pretty deep-seated reason for that to happen. What we did or what we said in class was not untoward. It was not, we didn't cross a boundary. If you heard it, you'd go, I'm not real sure why that person got upset, but they got upset. So that became a learning for us, right? And so we now know how sensitive that person is. So as we develop a process to help that person be successful on the floor, we need to know the sensitivities involved and how we can get around that so we can help that person become more successful. Does that make sense? So knowing your people is really important. Keep your employees and staff and teams informed. Why is that important, Marco?
And for instance, it's in this organization or organizations such as this, it's very, very important. We have promotions and things that change quite often, quarterly in the least, and we don't tell our employees. It's not to say they're not going to see it on what they're looking at. So we have to keep them up to date because they might give them the old information and in fact it's $200 more, or it's back to its original price.
Right.
And that's an escalation, and that's a pretty big deal. So we're definitely got to give them informed.
And what are we supposed to keep informed of? Vic?
Information, products, services,
New selling skills?
new selling skills.
How they're doing?
Yeah.
Right?
Their performance,
Y-
their
we-
goals, where they're at.
Right. What our expectations are, right? How can somebody perform at our expectation level if they don't know what they are, right? Like I said earlier in the class, the last thing you ever want to do is surprise somebody when you let them go. Well, you have failed as a leader when you do that, right? So this communication is really important in all sorts of ways, right? Set the example. We talked about that last week. Why is that so important, Doug?
Well, because if you're not willing to do the work that you're requiring your subordinates to do, then why are they going to do it? They're not going to do it with any zeal. They're just going to be like, if I'm not willing to do it, I can't expect you to really do it with a customer.
Yeah. Yeah, and if you can't do it, people go, why'd you ask me to do that? He can't do it. Why does he expect me to be able to do it? Right? So that's really important. Ensure that the task is understood, supervised, and completed. This is real similar to make sure your people are informed, but it's a little different because it's specific to a specific task or a series of tasks, right? Why is this so critical and important? Why would you think, Simon?
So you can make sure it's done properly.
What's the most important word up there?
Understood, I would say.
Understood is absolutely critical, right? Completed is a good word, right? Because we always get paid on results in sales, right? But the most important word is supervised, right? And really has to do with setting expectations. If I say to Marco, I will meet you at the gym at 3 o'clock, and that's an expectation, and I come to the gym at 3:15, right? And then the next week I come in at 3 o'clock and Marco's not there, but he shows up at 3:15. What have I done? All right? I may have set an expectation, but I didn't reinforce that expectation. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
All right. Train your people as a team. Why is this so critical? Jason?
People work better as a team. Like instead of one. Some people work, but if you put together a team and give them a goal-driven
Mhm.
to make together, you're going to get better results instead of having each person go their own way to make it happen. If you put them together as a whole, they're just always going to perform better.
It is, and this is a complicated principle. This is very complicated, and this has some psychological roots that are very complicated and has to do with people feeling isolated when they're working on their own. People feel less satisfied with their job performance when they're working on their own. People like to be a part of a group. People feel more comfortable in groups. People feel more secure in groups. People feel like they're being protected, their back is protected in a group environment. Plus you have things like groupthink, right? I may be a relatively intelligent guy, but me and Callie together, we're way more intelligent, and we can solve a problem better. If I add Jason and Jerry and Vic to it, now we got some real perspectives Add Steve to it, add Simon to it, add Travis to it, add Doug to it, add Trey to it. All of a sudden, you've got this groupthink, right? And one of the key mistakes that managers make is they don't allow the people on their teams to really test the boundaries of their imagination and ways to solve things. There's lots of really cool solutions out there. For example, let's say that I decide we're going to go from A to Z in some form or fashion. And Callie and I are talking about it, and she looks at F. And she says, I see where you're going with that, but what if we did this with F? Why don't we turn F on its head? Why don't we do this slightly different? And I go, you know what? It would work with F, but it works better with an upside down F than it does with F. And then Steve jumps in and he says, M is a great thing to do, but we can increase our performance if we did M twice. Yeah, M twice prevents further problems down the road, right? So that collective wisdom of constant process improvement comes from within a team. Plus, with a team, if you train everybody to do everybody else's job, you solve bandwidth issues and depth issues, right? So if everybody on a team understands how to do other people's jobs, you have a bandwidth issue where somebody can jump up and help do the job, or you had a depth issue, which means Brew's out for 2 weeks, who's going to train? Jerry. Jerry and Brew are out for 2 weeks, who's going to train? Right? We have to have somebody else involved that can do that. Does that make sense? All right? So that's really critical important. Make sound and timely decisions. Why is this important, young lady?
Because you can't be flip-flop. You have to be firm in your decision making. It makes people confident in you, and that's why.
They used to yell at us all the time in the Marine Corps, Lieutenant, make a decision. Good, bad, indifferent, make a decision. And they would force us to make a decision. And of course they were looking for our decision-making skill set, but really the key is you got to make a bunch of decisions during the day, right? And it would be cool to be able to spend 24 hours on every single decision. Let me think about where I'm going to place the sign in the bathroom. You know, no, just make a quick decision and go. Because what that does is that frees up time for you to get in Quadrant 2, right? If you make slow decisions, where are you? You're not doing what you need to do, right? So timely decisions, you know, you got to. You know what indecision is? Indecision is a decision. You've decided not to make a decision, and status quo is going to go on and on and on and on. Develop a sense of responsibility among your subordinates, right? Don't make it so you're the only responsible person in the team. Give them responsibility. Give them accountability. Assign them tasks. Ensure that they understand what the tasks are. Ensure that they complete them, that they're supervised properly, and give them the opportunity to take responsibility for their own actions and for the team's success. Employ your people, of course, with their capabilities. We talked about that in knowing your people, right? You know, maybe Steve doesn't swim. Okay, if I grab him in the Marine Corps and say, you're the scout swimmer, jump, and he goes, you know, I appreciate the opportunity to get promoted here as scout swimmer. We have one little fundamental problem, okay? I need some water wings, right? So you might not want to put that guy in that particular position. Does that make sense or not? Okay. The next one is seek responsibility, take responsibility for your own actions, right? And we've talked about getting promoted before, right? And so here's the analogy. We are looking for a duck to fit this management position. Maybe it's the CEO, the CFO, the COO, the vice president, whatever it is. That person, man or woman, needs to look like what that role is, right? So they need to be a duck. Well, ducks have feathers, webbed feet. They quack like a duck. They swim like a duck. They look like a duck, right? So we're looking for a duck in that position. So you, as somebody who wants to be a duck, what's your job? Become a duck. Emulate duck behavior. Learn duck psychology. Learn what the duck knows. Grow webbed feet. Get some feathers, right? So when it comes time to get promoted, it's obvious to everybody who we're going to promote. We're going to promote what? The duck or the ocelot with the webbed feet? Or the rhino with the feathers? Right? You don't want a rhino with feathers in the duck position. What you want is a duck. So what you have to do is take responsibility for yourself in your own development and your own actions. This, like all of the leadership principles, is complex. It's not a dive in the shallow end of the pool. It's complex. It's deep. It's broad. It has psychological principles underneath it, right? Leadership characteristics. Probably my favorite leader of all time, Abraham Lincoln. Justice. Everybody I know, and I will say something about my buddy Marco. Marco has an inbound planted in his chest sense of fairness. It's in him. That's who he is. And everything he thinks about is filtered through that. Right? I see it. I don't know if you guys see it, but I see it all the time. Judgment. You have to develop judgment. You know what? I made some really stupid decisions in my life. When I was a teenager, I was voted in high school, this is no kidding, to be the guy least likely to live past his 21st birthday. Yeah, that was me, right? I could tell you stories that would curl your toes, just nuts, right? All kinds of crazy things, right? And my judgment wasn't real good. So it's no surprise that I wasn't given a lot of responsibility because I was an immature guy. But as I got older, I began to realize that I wasn't stupid. I just didn't have the maturity that I needed to, so I sought ways in which I can mature myself, right? Does that make sense? All right. Judgment. Dependability. Why is that important, sir?
You got to be able to depend on people if you're gonna work with them.
Yeah.
You don't want to have someone that's wishy-washy.
No.
Yeah.
No. Wishy-washy or not there.
Right.
Right? If you got an important task to do, right, and 5 people can do it at best, and 4 people show up, that's 20% less than we need, right?
Right.
Well, if half of them don't show, woo, we're 50%. There's a burden on the other people, right? Initiative, taking the initiative, being proactive, right? Don't wait. If you see something needs to get done, you go do it. Decisiveness, tact, integrity. What's integrity? Doing the right thing when no one else is around. Your yeses are yeses, your nos are nos. Right? Leadership characteristics. Enthusiasm, bearing, unselfishness, courage, knowledge, loyalty, endurance. And we talk about emotional intelligence all the time, right? What is emotional intelligence? Emotional intelligence is basically your interpersonal relationship skill set. How do you relate to others? Right? And in Quadrant 2, relationship building is an important part of that. Every single one of us, and particularly when you're in a leadership position, every single one of us has a personal emotional bank account for everybody. Callie has one for me, and I've got one for her. Simon has one for me, and I've got one for him. With everybody in the room, right? And if I put emotional money, emotional investment in my bank account with Callie by caring about her success and making sure that we're giving her the right support and always being honest with her and always being upfront with her, right? Then I have emotional deposits in her little bank account for me. And if I make that fatal mistake one day, which we're all capable of doing, maybe I got bit by a dog, maybe I got up on the wrong side of the bed, maybe I wasn't thinking clearly, maybe I had too many projects going, but Callie says something to me and I snap at her. When you snap at somebody, what happens? An emotional withdrawal happens. If there's no cash in that personal account, what happens? NSF, insufficient funds, right? So it's really important, and 2, to work on your relationships. If you are naturally a short-tempered person, you do a lot of withdrawals. You are NSF with a lot of people. So what do you got to do? You got to know yourself. You got to know that's one of the things that you do. So you have to overcome that and put emotional capital in her account, in his account, just as y'all put it in my account. If y'all come up to me and say, Brew, I need to spend a couple of minutes with you and I need it right now, right? And there's nothing in there, right? I may not be able to do that. Does it make sense? You just want to make sure you have good relationships and you're putting stuff in there. Does that make sense to you? All right. It's a characteristic of effective leaders. Really good leaders get it. They know that we're human beings with a bundle of emotions, a bundle of expectations. All of us has a different viewpoint. When you read the Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz, he says that each and every one of us has our own reality. We live in our own world, our own reality. Mine's different from yours, and yours is different from mine. And you got to get that as a leader, right? The worst mistake you can make sometimes is to think that people think like you do, because people don't think like you do. You think like you do. They think like they do. Is one of them right and one of them's wrong? Well, you have a tendency to believe that we're right. But if you're really open and objective, sometimes you learn in life that you're not right, that you're incorrect, that your viewpoint is not correct. Does that make sense? And there's a real famous illustration of the three blind men, right? So the three blind men, this is a terrible elephant, but you have to get with it. All right? Let's say you had three blind men, right? Okay, that's ears. All right. Okay, tusk. All right. Okay, so three blind men, right? So one of them feels this. What's he think an elephant is? Real thin and ropey. It's got hair on it, fur on it. It's maybe snaky. I don't know. Somebody feels this. What's this? That's a wall. Big, solid, big, giant. What's this? It's got peanut breath. It's got hair on at the bottom. It moves around a lot. It's got sections on it. It's a hose, right? So which perspective is correct? They all are, right? And they're all incorrect, right? Because it's all of the elephant that really makes up the truth of the elephant. It's not a piece of it. Does that make sense? So perspectives are really important. Empathetic listeners. What do I mean by that?
Empathetic, just that you can understand, or you're willing to understand, and I'm sorry, I can't get out what I'm trying to say. Hold on, give me just 1 second. I can't think of any other word than empathy. To be able to sympathize, to understand what people are thinking, to emotionally have that.
Yeah, to get it, to walk in their shoes, right?
There we go,
walk in their moccasins, right? That's an old saying that the Indians had, the Native Americans. You know, walk in somebody else's moccasins. What does that mean? Look at their life. Why do they have the viewpoint that they have, right? I love Texas history, and I don't want to get too deep into this, but was a schism after the Texas Revolution between the Anglos and the Hispanics, the Mexicans. Huge schism, right? And that still rolls up to today. It's amazing, and it's incredible. Those gaps are being filled in, and it's really good. But empathy is understanding what the other person's thinking and what their point of view is, right? Know how to inspire and motivate. Difference between motivation and inspiration. Motivation lasts for a second, a minute, an hour, a day. Inspiration lasts a lifetime, right? You can inspire people, you can motivate people. It's two different things. All right, leadership habits. Be proactive. We talked about the beginning of mind. Put first things first. That's what we're talking over here, again in Quadrant 2. Think win-win. So we're going to talk about for the rest of the hour. Seek first to understand, then be understood. Synergize, sharpen the saw. Okay, leadership is what? Doing the right things, right? Doing the right things. Management is what, Marco? And leadership managers, management leadership, leaders who manage, right? They do right things right. That's the difference, right? Okay, roundtable discussion. Train your people as a team. Why is this considered a leadership principle? Why is this important? And how might you see this principle in the workplace? Give me an example. Who wants to dive in?
Strength of numbers. You get everyone pulling in the same direction, you seem to get there faster and more completely.
Okay, what happens when you don't have teamwork?
Organized, it's just a cluster mess.
It's like having a machine with a part missing. It's just not really going to function.
Inefficient.
Yeah.
What if the guy in the front of the canoe is paddling downstream and the guy in the back of the canoe is paddling upstream? what happens? Yes, sir.
So you can't reach goals where you see it in the workplace. It's dish exceed bundles. If you focus on maybe 7 people because they get straight dish calls, it's okay. Well, what about all the people who have good opportunities to sell those combos as well? Without training and working on specific principles to be a better salesman and have the trust of the manager or leader, you wouldn't hit the goals that we want for this next month, which is 80. You wouldn't get it.
Okay.
Well, and it also benefits the trainer. I mean, if you know, you take 5 people into a class, right? You train them for 40 hours. You put them on the floor, and 4 of the 5 people are just doing awesome at dish, and then one person's not. Well, that one person had the same opportunity everyone else did, so you can actually say, well, we did give them the right opportunity here, you know. Or if you train, 5 people for 40 hours and none of them are getting it, well, odds are you probably didn't do a good job training.
Yeah.
You know. So,
Or you pick the 5 people that couldn't get it, right? Yeah. Yeah. I've done both. I've done both. I've been effective as a teacher, and I picked the wrong people. I've done both. What do you think, brother? Why is teamwork so critical to the success of an organization? And let me put it even more personal, to the success of a leader, right? You can't do it by yourself, right? Giant ship, giant boat. Yeah, you're the captain, right? Who's going to maintain it? Who's going to feed the crew? Who's going to keep the engines running, right? Who's going to clean up, right? All those things have to happen for the ship to get where it needs to go, right? Does that make sense? Yes, sir.
That kind of ties into how when the agents are still in here and they're new, they get to go out and they monitor for a few hours, but when they actually hit the floor, they can't sit next to a new agent. You put them with someone who's been here a while, so that way, if Doug's tied up, the person next to him can lean over and help him out. You know what I mean? We're all working as a team.
It also helps them become a part of the team.
Yeah.
Instead of there's just a new person in their direction.
What do you think about teamwork? Why is that important?
Teamwork, it helps the business run more smoothly. I mean, it's like you said, you can't just be your own operator to have a successful business.
Yeah.
You've got to have everybody working together, just like a fine-oiled machine.
Yeah. Call Captain Harrell up on the deck. We've got an iceberg up ahead. Captain Harrell's down there folding napkins. Hey, I got first service at 6 o'clock. It's 5:30. What are you talking about? I got these napkins I got to do, right? Which is, right, not being in the right time quadrant.
I think we also have our own set of strengths.
We do.
As individuals. And if
We do.
you bring together as a team, then all of the strengths put together makes it a really strong unit rather than just a bunch of.
That's right. Jerry has strengths I don't have. I have some strengths that Jerry doesn't have. So the two of us together are stronger as a team than would be individually. He's much more detail-oriented than I am, right? But I do things in a different way that's helpful to him. So that's a good partnership, right? Does that make sense? So what do you think about teamwork?
You know, we actually talked about this earlier. As a team, people together, they're going to reach a goal together. And like you said, we have to all be able to take care of every single task. Therefore, if somebody's not there to take care of it, somebody else can fill in as well. And you don't want people out being rogue, doing their own thing, because they might not have they might not know what the team already together. You have to create an identity for a team. You got to create a purpose for them. We all have one goal when we get towards the end as a team. If somebody's going off the road, they don't know that plan, and that's going to hinder what's going on. So make sure everybody's on the same page and we have each other's backs. And that's what a real team is. And there's teams everywhere. There's football teams, Democratic parties are teams if you think about it. I mean, political parties, sorry. So yeah, I mean, obviously, the team group being proactive as a team is always going to benefit any situation better than people just going off road.
They have proven study after study after study that people who are isolated don't have as many relationships and are deep relationships. And people who are isolated at work don't feel the job satisfaction that people in a team environment feel. So I mean, there's a lot of psychological studies that have proven that this is a principle that really makes some sense and works, you know. So train your people as a team. So here's the next question. How do you do that? How do you do that? How does one do that?
I think the way that you do it is really good in that you get everyone involved from the the beginning, and so everyone's participating together, and it kind of just becomes second nature.
Okay. And one of the things that Jerry and I teach is that everything you do has to come out of respect. In any team, you're going to have a distribution sort of characteristics and abilities and all that kind of stuff, right? So everybody's sort of ranked sort of in a team, right? So let's say you have 5 people in a team. And typically, everything is distributed in terms of skills and productivity and results along a bell curve, right? So you have, one person on the back end here who's not doing as well as the guy that's doing up here in front. Then you have a group of people that are in this area that are in the middle in terms of their characteristics and their skill set and that sort of thing. So as a team, right, you recognize this guy is not where this guy is, or girl. Right? So you identify what their strengths and weaknesses are, and you develop a plan to help them move this way, right? But remember, you have to employ people with their capability, but you want to make sure that you come to this person out of respect, because you don't know why they're not here. Could be you didn't explain it right, could be it's your fault, right? But you want to move people this direction. If this is not doing the job like you like them to be, and this is doing the job, you got to move this, and you got to have this person reach back here and grab people as well. Does that make sense? Okay, so it's really critical that we come up with ways to be good teams, and the best way to be a team leader is to be a what? A good team member. That's the best way of doing it. All right. Disregard what I said up there, enthusiasm. That's what we're talking about today. Why is enthusiasm so critical to success as a leader? Go ahead, Vic.
If someone sees you're enthusiastic about it when you're explaining it to them, it kind of just rubs off. Kind of like the bobblehead effect. If you're talking to someone like this the whole time, and they'll start doing it too. It kind of just pushes them in the right direction. And it's hard not to smile at someone when they're smiling at you.
Yeah.
People tend to care more about what you care about. If you care about something and you're really enthusiastic
Uh-huh.
about it, this is great, they're going to be like, okay, this is great to them. Let's make it that way. Let's continue to have it be great to them and great to me as well.
If you show a little enthusiasm, the person you're speaking with will understand that you're genuine about what you're saying. If you're not enthusiastic about what you're saying, it's just lying. You're feeding
Yeah.
that crap.
Yeah.
If you really believe it, and you
Yeah.
really have that enthusiasm,
Yeah.
then people get excited.
Yeah.
So.
Exactly.
Concerning inspiration and motivation, it's adding like value to the person's life. It may come at first like, oh yeah, this is a cool product, but it's like, what are you building as like a leadership team, a management team, being a trainee? It's like you're really doing building blocks for adding value to your life by understanding who you're working with, and by the product that you're going to know. Now you're going to build together as a team.
Very cool. Last week I went to Marco and I said, Marco, would you consider trading me? Because I feel like over the last 9 months or so I've let my physical fitness kind of drop off the side. And he lit up like a light bulb, like a freaking light bulb. And he said, yes, I will. What do you want? When do you want to do it? I mean, it was really cool to watch him do that. And I instantly went into the enthusiasm mode as well, right? It's kind of cool, right? If you're enthusiastic, then what happens? You radiate that. Right? It's attitude. We talk about attitude in class, right? What does attitude do? It informs everything you do. So enthusiasm is a part of that attitude, right? If you're excited about what you're doing, other people get excited. If you get excited about celebrating goals and little victories, and that's a management tool out there too. Always celebrate little things, Celebrate everything you can celebrate. Always do that. Does that make sense? You gotta have that great enthusiasm for what you're doing. Great enthusiasm for life. Uh-huh.
They've had a good experience at it.
Yeah.
That's usually a good sign.
Yeah. Yeah, you ever talk to Weaver about the Marine Corps? Yeah.
You have to admire that kind of passion.
Do you think he's enthusiastic about his time in the service? You think he could talk a young 18-year-old to go to service? You bet he could, because he's enthusiastic, right?
Yeah.
Right? What happens if you fail to model enthusiasm?
The same effect, but in reverse.
You have a void of leadership. That's what you have. It's a vacuum, right? You have a void of enthusiasm. It's not there, right? Okay. Habits. Think, win, win, right? I have a sister who cannot stand to lose an argument. As a matter of fact, she's never lost an argument in her whole life. Not one. Now, think about that for a second. How can you go through life and not lose at least one argument? Well, she's lost a bunch of them.
You just let her.
It's her little reality is that she wants to make sure that she comes out the winner, right?
Right.
Okay, we don't care who wins. We care about what the results are, right? You know what the problem with America today is really? Is that we used to have a time where people ran for office and then governed. Now, all we do is run for office every day, all day long, and this side will not do anything that'll make this side look good, so nothing happens. Lyndon Johnson was not a nice man. But he was an amazing politician. And the reason he was an amazing politician, and the Civil Rights Act was passed in 64 and 65, and the Voting Rights Act in 67. Why that happened? Because Lyndon Johnson knew how to do win-win. He knew how to do that. I'll scratch your back on this if you'll scratch my back on that. We look at that as dirty politics. No, we don't care who wins the argument, or we shouldn't care who wins the argument. We care about what the results are. In America, we're so polarized today that we have these issues that separate us so severely that nothing gets done. Right? That's a lack of leadership on the part of our legislatures. I believe in throwing the bums out. That's my point of view. Throw them all out. Let's start over with some people who are willing to get things done. Right? I don't care what your litmus test arguments are. I want to get something done. And you shouldn't care what my litmus test points of view are. Right? So as a leader, what do we want? Do we want to win the argument? Do we want to prove that we're in a position of authority? If I pull rank on somebody, what have I just done? I have yanked a bunch of emotional capital out of that account. That's emotional capital, brother. Or piss them off. Right? We'll go either, withdraw the emotional capital or piss them off. But emotionally, I reached into her account and I pulled a bunch of stuff out. Now, Bruce's account has a lot less capital in there than it did before. When you pull rank on somebody, I'm the boss, damn it, do it, you just lost the argument. You've lost the argument. So as a leader manager, what do? You look for opportunities to win and win. Win and win. Win and win. Win and win. Right? So, it's sort of an illustration, right? When you're running a sales organization and you need to hire people that are ducks, and somebody comes to you and says, I want to be in that position, and they don't have a feather on their body. They have cloven feet versus web feet, and they are just not designed to do that, right? So it would be easy to say, there's no way in the world you could ever qualify for that position because you're a cloven-hoofed goat, and I'm looking for a duck. Well, you don't do that. You take that time to say, hey, I'm going to try to figure out a way to get you ready for the duck position, right? But you're going to have to be willing to get ready for the duck position. In that particular thing, it's a win-win, right? All right, summary. Now, we've gone through the principles of character and habits a number of times, and we're about to get through those in the next week or two. Then once we do that, then what's going to happen is we're going to dive deeper into some management issues, right? Deeper into some leadership issues, deeper into how to take the stuff that you're learning and kind of bring it to the forefront. So here's your homework. Write one paragraph on how the SLI program has changed the way you think about leadership and management. That's on your slide. You don't have to write it down. Rewrite your personal vision and mission statement. I want you to rewrite it. And listen to me, guys. Please do your homework. Right? You'll benefit from it. And write one paragraph on what you can do to be a better leader, manager in your personal and professional life, and be prepared to share. See where we're going with this stuff? Okay, what's next? Weekly basis. This will be recorded. The recording will be up